So one topic of conversation that I feel like has come up a lot recently with my kids or even with their friends, I was on a phone call with a girl in another city just kind of talking through some things, is community or what they feel is a lack of community. And that's a very foreign feeling to me because I'll be honest, I cultivated community early. There's nobody sitting around this table that I haven't been friends with for a long time, you know? I mean, I've known Jill since before I had kids kind of situation, you know? And so I was like, what did we do to make that happen? Because I know we made a decision, you know? Why? I think that's my question. Why did we make the decision? Why was it a value for us? Because that is what motivates us. Like, what was our why? And then how do we do it? And so I think I want to ask that question, like, how did you do it then? So for people that are watching that are younger, I'm trying to think, the only one that had kids is the conversation that I just had, and she has 3 littles. Some of the conversations have been with people that don't even have kids yet. So what did you do when you first got married, maybe, or whatever? And then what did that look like as you went on? Don't feel like you have to answer everything in one thing, but yeah.
I will answer when I had little kids. I didn't have any family nearby. And so I ended up having a friend that was 4 doors down. And we ended up having kids in the same. So we have been best friends the whole time. But I mean, we ended up, you know, I took her kids for a couple hours in the day. She would take my kids the next day for a couple hours. So it was definitely out of necessity. I needed help and didn't have the help. And so, but I also would say as an introvert, it's really, really hard. It's really hard. And to find ways to get out of your comfort zone and try to meet somebody I do think it's important to be somehow where you're going to see them. So I don't know if it's in a play group with the kids or in the neighborhood, or it is very helpful if you're naturally just going to see this person, you know, throughout the week or the month or something. So, and if that's not the case, then you're going to have to put it on your calendar. Like, okay, I'm going to make an intentional, hey, let's call each other every Sunday afternoon or something. So to make it very intentional.
That's good.
Yeah, I think intentionality is really good. I know that I don't think I knew that back then, like I know that now. I think my personality back then was very much like, hey, you want to be my friend? Let's be my friend. Now, I wasn't, you know, if friends come and go.
Yeah.
So I think when I was younger, especially in the workforce, had community maybe at the workforce, try to cultivate some relationships there. If there wasn't a connection, then I would move on. So I wasn't it didn't affect me so much. My personality was much like, okay, they'll be in somebody else, you know, so I would, but then I think now, me at this age, I think being intentional has been so beautiful. So if that's just practically putting in a meeting with somebody and then saying, okay, let's put another date in the calendar right there and then, so that you've got something that can cancel. It's not set in stone, but it is just trying to be a bit more intentional about, I'd really like to see you again, because life happens, and before you know it, weeks and weeks and weeks have gone by and you haven't seen that person. If you're not in same circles, if you're not crossing paths, if you're not in a club or a book club or a, you know, something where you are going to naturally see somebody. So I think intentionality is really key. That's a key word.
I think that is hugely key. And if, you know, if you're an introvert or a personality that's, you know, content with being by themselves on a regular basis, then you inadvertently look around and find that you have no friends. I mean, I remember after every single one of my children were born, you know, for the first 6 months or a year, like I went in a hole because and then you would look up after a year, after they're sleeping through the night, after they're, you know, sitting up on their own and starting to walk, and you look around and go, where'd my friends go? Because, you know, you had to put a lid on your night at 6:30 because, you know, all those kinds of things. So during that season of life, I think my friend group was more people that had the same age bracket of children. Chick-fil-A play yard was amazing. McDonald's play yard was amazing because you could just let them go play. And then I remember so many times us just visiting while our kids were playing. I do feel like I want to recognize that technology is different now than it was 30 years ago. So 30 years ago, I didn't have a whole computer in my hand.
Yeah.
Right.
I didn't have social media, Instagram, Facebook, all the things that would draw my attention away from this to here, right?
Yeah.
And so I do think the generation that's coming up behind us has a particular set of challenges that we didn't have to deal with. And it will go back to intentionality once again. Before we started, I flippantly said, get off your phone. Well, kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to be able to have a conversation eye to eye with someone
Yeah.
in order to build a very good, long-lasting relationship. And I feel like because technology is the way it is and social media is the way it is, it's almost false friendships.
Right.
You know, those people are telling you their best life online, and you're telling those people your best life online, but that's not a friendship.
Yeah.
A friendship is going to be this. It's calling me up, meeting for coffee, whatever it looks like, working with someone side by side. Good, bad, and the ugly, but you have to get it flesh. You can't keep having it.
Or even picking up the phone
Absolutely.
and having a conversation. Because to your point, like when you had littles and you might not even be able to get out, you know, but picking up the phone. We recently, we lost our son in April it'll be a year in April. And I actually never really felt the pain of what technology has done until that, because people could text you and be like, are you okay? And I literally could be sitting in the bathroom losing my mind in grief. But it's a text. There's no feeling. And it could even be your best friend. It's not even like you know what I'm saying? And you're like, it's too convoluted to answer via text. There's too much. It's too heavy. It's too deep. And so it loses authenticity. And you just go, I'm okay, you know? And the truth is you're not okay. Yeah. Not okay at all, you know? And so I kind of had to start verbalizing that. Like, we've done this. I've been a part of it. No one's doing anything wrong. Like, this is how we check in, right? But now I have this really big thing, and that's not working for me. It was allowing me to hide or lie or feel isolated, you know? I would say too, like when my kids were, well, before we had kids, so we got married young. I was 19 when we got married, and none of our people were getting married. Right. And so we were an anomaly. And then I became a Christian. And so we lost our entire friend group because I had been pretty anti-Christian. And so I hung out with people who were, we made fun of Christians, you know? So then I had this radical life change, and we found ourselves literally with no friends. And so we started going to church. And it's not church. The point is like what you said earlier, a book club or, you know, music or whatever it is.
Play group or something.
You know. But this is where we found community in that season. Well, we started going there, and we found there was still nobody like us. Like we were, you know, we were like the youngest people, and so we had a hard time, or they already had kids or whatever. And so we just made a decision. We were like, you know what? When a couple comes through the door who's young and who doesn't have kids yet, we're going to ask them to dinner. And we kind of started this dinner ministry, for lack of a better way to say it. So we just started having dinner with people. Then we got pregnant, and we were like, okay, now we're going to start like inviting people that are young families. And we met this couple, Andy and Janet, and they had a 9-month-old when we had our first son. And we started, like, we got our pack and plays, and on Friday nights, we went to each other's house, and we ordered Mr. Jim's pizza, literally every Friday night. It was so cheap, you know?
So good.
And we laid our babies in their pack and play, and we would play games. And then we got pregnant with number 2 together. And then somewhere in there, we met another couple, Heather and Tim, and then we met this other couple, it was Heather's sister, and this other couple. So now we have like 5 couples, and now we're all bringing babies, and we're all putting them in the pack and play, and you know, running around in the backyard or whatever. And so we just, like, as we grew, we figured out that we had to initiate. And that's the point, is that we initiated it, and we just made it really easy. Like, hey, this is what we do, because we can't get out of the house. So if you want to come and do it with us, you know, that'd be really fun. Well, then that led to gosh, I feel like this is sort of a sad episode. I don't mean to bring up all my life stories, but our second son passed away in a drowning accident. And when that happened, our community grew even stronger. So there are times where I'm like, would we have grown together as much if we hadn't gone through something so incredibly hard together. You know, I don't know, but what I do know is that community came together, and what was birthed out of that were just these incredibly deep, authentic friendships where we talked about hard stuff, and none of us had a theology for suffering, and none of us knew what to do, and everybody said stupid stuff. You know, God must have needed your toddler, you know, and so like we had to have like some confrontation and some, you know, all of that. But that led into, I feel like this is such a long story, but that led into, we started cleaning co-ops. So we had all these kids and we needed projects done, or we needed something deep cleaned. And when are you going to do that with your kids? And so there were 4 or 5 of us. I can't remember now. It was maybe 4, because it was like Heather, Tracy, Michelle, me. So 4 of us. And we had all these kids running around. So on Fridays we went, so you got it once a month. And so they all came and painted my nursery furniture. And then at someone else's house, we cleaned all the windows. And then at some, you know, but it was every Friday we were together, and our kids were running amok, you know, or whatever. And it was crazy. But then that bled into cooking once a month. And so we got together and we started cooking for our families. And then then that led to a babysitting co-op where we switched. So then we had 3 dates a month.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You were like out every Friday night. And then one Friday night, it was awful. You know? And there were way too many everywhere. And they were like, I'm throwing you dinner. You know, but you take it. And so I don't know. I just feel like we had to make decisions. We had to make sacrifices. We had to serve other people. We had to have hard conversations, and we had to love other people if we were going to cultivate it. And I would say it's no different now. It's no different now. We have to make the decision to be present. We have to take the initiative. You're so great. What you said earlier is putting it on the calendar. We'll be at a dinner and you'll be like, let's put it on our calendar right now. You know, so we have to be intentional. I just don't think it changes. And so what I would counter with is, what are you doing? How are you? And it doesn't always work. It's not like the first people you.
I would say we actually have a group of people that were my husband's friends. So my husband had some friends in college, and so it started kind of as a big group that would meet once a year. Like these friends from college would all get together somewhere once a year, like a reunion. And it morphed into, as everybody had kids, not everybody could come. And then it morphed into just 5 couples. And we still get together. So it's been, 35 years. We still get together once a year. And what's interesting about that group is it's fun. Like we don't live in the same town. So we're not dealing with the day-to-day with each other, but we are the fun. Like, so it's like, oh gosh, I need some fun. So I know that weekend is coming, once a year or whatever. So I have that for fun. And my husband is an extrovert, and he needs that. So, and he provides so much fun on that weekend. But, so that's been really interesting to be a part of a group that's long lasting in that way, but not like on a daily hard. And then I would say, because I'm an introvert, I have one friend, and to your point of putting it on the calendar, we have decided to get together once a quarter. We're both really busy. And so we have like a 3-hour lunch once a quarter. And I save up all of my questions and difficulty and sadness. And then we just get together and cry and do each other empathy. And, but it's at the beginning of the year, it's on the calendar, and we can adjust it if we need to adjust it. But it's like every January, she's like, okay, which 4 Fridays can you get together? So I get my introvert, need met, and my husband gets his extrovert fun. And I have that too. So fun.
It's really good. I think sometimes I gave advice to some of the people that I mentor that just be the friend you'd want to have. So where they're feeling maybe victim, or they feel a little lonely, or they're feeling a little sad, or they feel a little poor is me, or woe is me. And, maybe they felt like they've stepped out a few times and they've got rejection. I just encourage you. I would encourage that person. I would encourage, just keep being the best version of yourself. And okay, say there was somebody that upset you, maybe write that person or send that person a card. I don't know. I would never do that because I don't like cards. But send them a text or flowers. No flowers, no cards, please. But I just get out of the victim mentality and it takes courage, because especially if you felt like you put yourself out there and you didn't get what you thought was going to be something, I said, just try again. Or I don't know, I just want people to just know it's okay to just keep working on yourself to be the best version of a friend that you would want to have in your life. So there's things all the time. If you open your eyes, there are ways that you can help somebody all the time. And I guarantee at work, there's somebody that you could be kind to or loving to, or it just takes a little bit, like get out of your comfort zone, get out, step out, try to do something and keep trying to do that thing. Does that make sense? I just think sometimes we
I was just thinking about it too. I remember there was a season of my husband's life where he did not feel like he had friends and he wanted them. And it was not a short season. It was like several years. But he got into the habit of just continuing to make the first move, second move. I mean, really, it's for a couple of years, like he would, and it got to be a little bit of a joke between him and one other friend, because David would get in the car and he would have to drive and he would start going down his list and he would just start calling people. And it was for years, he would call this person when he had to drive this way and he'd call this person when he had to drive this way. And after time, like it's hard when it's not being reciprocated. It's definitely hard, but continue to be diligent, persistent, because there came a shift. And then he had this one friend, David. Well, I'm in the car and I just thought I would give you a call. And it's really sweet. Like, so, we have a generation of young adults, like our kids are now young adults, and we tell them the same thing. You've just got to be, be friendly, go where the people are, and just continue to be intentional. And it will shift.
Yeah.
It's hard to make a new friend.
Yeah,
it takes time to make a new friend.
Can I say one more? I just want to say one thing too. I feel like this next generation has so much pressure with the whole internet that like the birthday parties have to look a certain way and everything has to be Pinterest ready. And I'm like, take the pressure off. Like you said, like just pizza and a playpen. Like don't have any decorations whatsoever. Make it easy. Yeah.
We hosted dinner for a couple. It was the first time that they came to the house this last weekend, and we made smash burgers. And I made the comment, like, this is just the there can be a season with Pinterest, with things like that, where you're like, I've got to make a 4-course kind of thing. And, we got to do this and this. And I was just like, everybody likes simple food. I don't know, anybody that's doesn't like just a good meal, and to be in your casual clothes, drink a glass of wine, have a smash burger, hang out, whatever. And so I agree. I think simple is key. Okay. I know you, so I know a little bit of your story, and I'm going to ask you a pointed question, and I hope it's okay.
Of course.
What about betrayal? Because I think one of the hardest things to overcome in friendships is when you have been betrayed and or not loved well. Yeah. And I think those are the same or similar.
Yeah.
Number one, trusting other people. I think that can be really difficult. But number two, like it sort of shatters sometimes. Like it's easy to be in community. This is what I'm trying to say. It's easy to be in community and to make friends when everything's going well. When we're eating pizza and we're playing games and all of that stuff. But what happens when there's a conflict that can't be resolved or when there's a betrayal? Yeah. And I don't mean intimacy betrayal. I mean just like a betrayal of friends.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's painful, undoubtedly painful, very painful. And I think you do have to take time to assess really I think it's two things. One, you have to assess, is this relationship that has just gone through a betrayal worth fighting for? Because there are different seasons and friends ebb and flow. So I think that's the first question. The second question is, if there's a yes to that, then what was my part to play? Because we've got to look at ourselves in all kind of, even though no matter what betrayal, there could have been something to play or my part to bring. And then I think you have to know, all right, there's going to be time. There's going to be some time for healing. And then you have to be brave. And especially if that relationship you want to fight for, you've got to do the brave thing and put yourself out there. Maybe I've had two sets. I've gone both ways where clearly one friendship was not going to be restored. And so you grieve it, you look at it, you process it. And I don't think you really know how well you're really doing until you see that person again. And then even then you may have to grieve it, process it, forgive, go. So, I think rejection in any type of friendship is incredibly painful, but then it's okay. And what I want to say is you will not feel that pain. There will be a day where you can be in that presence of that person and there is no pain and no sting. And you're just not friends. And it was just, you can be courteous and it's okay. But I think the friendships that you do know that you need to fight for, it can take time. And but I think with counsel, I think with my life is, so the person I was trying to fight for, I also had people around and about me that I was welcome them into the council. Do you think I'm off? Do you think I'm, am I fighting too hard? Do you think this isn't worth fighting for? Or so I think because you can get in the minutia of things, you have to keep up wide in the bigger place. So keep the perspective wide. And then if that person, there is a mutual kind of forgiving, I guess, of both parties, it's amazing what the Lord can do. However, do you always go back to what it was? I don't know. I think that wisdom now and older Shireen now would say, it's okay if it doesn't go completely back to what it was. Because pain is pain and we're human. And yes, we may have that scar that has a nice little scab on it, but it's hard because it pings. But I'm grateful and thankful for the relationship that I did fight for, and I'm grateful and thankful for what I have today. And I would have really missed out on something if I hadn't chosen to, okay, let me open my heart and try and do this. It's painful.
I think sometimes arguments between friends who genuinely love each other, if they are willing to do the hard work and reconcile, I think the friendship could go in another better place almost. You know what I mean? It could.
It's true.
Maybe there's more trust. Maybe there's more understanding. Maybe there's, just you see the other person in a different light that you didn't see them before and you respect them in a different way. I think it could be, yes, I'm always going to hold them at arm's length, but then it could be, oh, wow, we just went deeper because we just walked through this painful thing together and we realized we do genuinely value each other and it's going to go deeper.
That's good.
That's good.
I have something different to add. I feel like I had a friendship and I was a needy person. I wanted it to be on a different level, and I wasn't getting what I needed, and I felt like there was a break in the relationship, and I was hurt really bad. And what I learned from that is, I don't have to change that person. I was able to recognize they're not going to be able to meet that need. I need to go find the person. So that I did. I went and found the person that I can meet with. We schedule it. We go really deep. We align in that way. And this other person can meet that need. And I needed to let this other friend off the hook.
That's so good.
And I can have a relationship now with them, with her, and she doesn't have to meet that need. So again, we connect in the ways that we can connect, that we can help, align. But I don't have to force something that's not gonna work.
Good.
That's really, really profound. I think I've been on the other side of that. She's not talking about me. We're not addressing some unspoken thing here. I've been on the other side of that. Casey I used to tease and I would go, well, that person thinks they're my best friend, but they're definitely not my best friend. Like I might be their best friend, but they're not my best friend, And I didn't mean it in a condescending way. I could just tell like that person needed more than what I was willing to give. And maybe I felt like I was already giving that in other places. And there's just only so much you have. You're married and you have kids and you have responsibilities and you're like, I can't be that person. But I still have a couple people in my life that it's hard because they really pursue. And I just recognize like, That's, especially with what we're walking through, I have my core group and that's like what I have capacity for. And so maybe for the first time, I think I just want people to hear this so they can let themselves off the hook. Maybe for the first time, I'm really okay with answering back. I can't do that right now.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely.
I can't meet you right now. I can't have a phone call with you right now. And it's not because I don't love you or appreciate you or any of those things. It's just like we don't already have that, you know, and it's just not there. I think another thing on that kind of front too is that there have been some friendships or some things that I've entered in and I've had some definite red flags. I didn't listen to them because everybody else loved them or whatever. And I don't mean that in a, but like discernment. I had discernment, you know, and then when those things went a certain direction, I actually don't have, I feel like I've been incredibly blessed. I don't have a lot of broken relationship. I have distance. Like my friend Janet and I, you know, the one that I started with the pack and plays, I mean, she lives in Virginia and our kids are grown and man, when we see each other, we love each other so much and we message and we, you know, all of those things, but we're not tight anymore. Right. But it's not a bad thing. Nothing happened. It's not that, but I don't really have like broken relationship. But it seems like when I've had broken relationship and I don't know that betrayal is always the right word, but you broken relationship, it's been like a big break. If that makes sense. I've only had 2 of those, you know, and in both cases, I think I want people to listen to their discernment because in both cases, I would say to Casey, these are just not my people, you know, like I just know it, but I feel like I'm pushing because I'm supposed to, or the circumstances are there, or whatever it is, you know, and they're not, and I'm doing it anyway. And now to your point earlier, asking yourself, what's my part? Did I ever even really give myself to them because I never felt like they were my person? Did I have the level of grace I should have had for them? Because if, you know what I mean? Like all those things. And so I think there's just there's so much beauty in listening to discernment. Without judgment. Just because they're not my person doesn't mean they're not your person. No, you know what I mean? 100%. Or any of that. So not gossiping or judging or any of that, but just being able to say, the Lord's really clear in this for me.
I think it's an act of love to admit what you can and cannot do, what you can and cannot provide. It's living within a boundary. You can't be friends with everyone. You can't be a deep friend with everyone. And to be able to say to another person, this is what I can give you. This is the amount of depth or intimacy that I can give you. And if it's I can't meet you, that's an act of love. And when you can't meet somebody else's need, they're going to be hurt. I mean, they're going to feel pain and grief, and that's okay. Let them deal with they're the only one that can deal with their pain and grief. You can't fix it.
That's good. We're in the
That's
so fun.
You can't fix their pain and grief.
That's so good. I think that it is love, like you said, to eliminate confusion is actually beautiful.
Yes.
You're absolutely right. I think that just straightforwardness, this is where I'm at. That's so good.
So I'm going to say this, we talked about this off camera, but that's what I learned being a people pleaser. When you're not saying what you really mean, then people cannot trust your word.
That's good.
So if you want to just please everybody and not have anybody be ever mad at you, no one will ever believe you. They will not ever believe, are you telling me what you really like, or are you just people pleasing me? So it's important to say what will cause, hurt to other people. It's important to say what you really mean in order for people to trust your word.
That's good. Great conversation. I hope they all go out and build community. Thank you.